welcome everybody to something that I kind of want to try and make a series, and I don't know how well this is gonna go, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So this is kind of just my own little self project thing where once a week I want to try and dedicate maybe like an hour long video to just basically just talking about certain things and topics today. And so, okay, so the way I'm going to do this is in the background of the video I have one of my own videos. In this case, as you can see, it's Halo, and I have covered the screen where my camera is for the video, so you see this one. But I kind of want to just dedicate every video to kind of just be talking about like certain topics that interest me and stuff like that. And in this case, I kind of just want to bring up something that not just about Halo, but something that interests me in Halo, and that would be the Flood. So recently they have revealed Halo Campaign Evolved, which is essentially just another kind of like a I'm gonna say it's not a reboot, it's a remaster, but it is something that it's got other stuff as well that makes it different. So we know that it's the campaign for Halo Combat Evolved. It's in updated Unreal Engine graphics, whatever one they're using. They are adding, I think they said something like new missions, some new weapons, some new enemies or something like that. And essentially it's just a Halo remake, and the one main point of it is it's coming out on PlayStation. Now, I wanted to, it kind of gave me the idea for this video, and I wanted to kind of talk about it anyway. But and I apologize for those who probably don't want to watch a video of me talking about something for almost an hour, but that's just what I wanted to do anyway. But anyway, just to move it on, that's kind of just the explanation of this video and that. But to move on, so the Flood. Now, a bit of a story time. When I was younger, I remember the first time I ever played Halo was back in primary school. I went on one of the school computers at school, and I noticed one of them had the file for Halo, so someone obviously in the school copied it and put it on the computer. And I played it, and I used to always just pick the mission that it was up to, which was the Silent Cartographer. And I had no idea how to play it. I was way too young to be playing video games at the time. Like, I played some video games then, but not really big first-person shooters. So I had no idea what I was doing. I killed the enemies at the start of the area and just kind of walked around the area, like, not knowing what to do. But that was my first time playing Halo. Then later down the line in life, I was very young with my family at a relative's house, and we're all kind of sleeping on the same bed, which was like a big, like, king-sized bed. And then I woke up like late at night, and my older relatives were playing Halo, except they were on one of the Flood missions. It's the one that's, I can't remember the name of it. It's the one that, it's like the Truth and Reconciliation, but it's when the Flood take over. But as a kid, I woke up to that, and it scared the crap out of me, and I actually was, like, terrified, because I knew the game looked familiar, but I seen the Flood and stuff, and it kind of freaked me out. But, either way, I just kind of, whatever. And then, a little bit more later down the line, I got into video games more, and eventually I did play Halo. And mind you, I was still relatively new to it, but I still played it and, got all the way through. And eventually I got to the point where I got to the infamous, or not the infamous, the very famous 343 Guilty Spark mission. And it terrified me. It was probably one of the few missions that I could not finish. And at least if I tried to, I, took too long to do it. But, at that point in time as well, I had been getting into stuff like Call of Duty zombies and stuff like that, so I was relatively leaning in towards zombies and stuff, which the Flood to me were just alien zombies. I know it's not exactly what they are, but that's just what I saw them as. And obviously, as time went on, that just became what it is, like I got into the Flood, and then it got to a point where one of my favorite moments is back when my younger brother first got into Halo. He loved the game, but every time he got up to the Flood levels, he would always, like, stop playing. And I would be that kind of, like, older brother who would take over and finish the missions and stuff for him or help him through it. And they were good memories. Like, I love those memories. But either way, the Flood were, in my opinion, next level zombies. And they were just my favorite thing in the world. The idea of them, the look, the sounds, they just like hit all the checklists of like what kind of like horror I liked. And obviously, as someone who's a big fan of movies like John Carpenter's The Thing and stuff like that with body horror, it was up my alley anyway. Over time, obviously, Halo 2 came out, and I played that. And the thing I loved about Halo 2 was, but I had the knowledge and experience of Halo 1, so it was easy to get into Halo 2. But also, the Flood... the thing about the Flood in the first game is, when they're introduced, they just become the main plot. And that's what I loved about them. It was like, oh, you're fighting against a Covenant, and then the Flood show up, and it's all of a sudden, it's on them. And that's the thing I love about it. And then Halo 2 came out, and it was still humans and Covenant, and the Flood were there. It's not like they were overshadowed or anything. They were still a good threat, but they introduced some more stuff to the Flood lore. Like, obviously the Gravemind, who no one knew at the time, was like, oh my god, like, what is this thing? And you find out it's like the giant hierarchy of the Flood. And it was just such a, Halo 2 is always going to be... Halo 1 and 2, to me, are all basically tied to my favorite Halo games, because of just, in my opinion, Halo 1 is always going to be a classic to me, and then Halo 2 is always going to be a, kind of like one of those, like, very close to the top games that I just thought did well. And again, like, the idea of how they extended the Flood's lore more was just good, and again, as someone who loved the Flood, like, it was a good thing for me to see. And then Halo 3 came out. I'm not going to sit here and say I hate Halo 3. I'm just not a big fan of the way it kind of went. But in Halo 3, the Flood kind of come to an end. Some highlights in Halo 3 I loved is, one, the way that you see Covenant and humans turn into the Flood when they're infected was amazing. Like, the way they did it was really good, and it was scary. The new Flood forms you could get in that game were also pretty scary, and, like, just really good. Like the tank form and stuff. And then, apart from that one mission where you're trying to find Cortana and you just keep getting slowed down by those Cortana and Gravemind things, like, yeah, a lot of people might agree that's not the best part of the game, but overall, and then one moment I should really don't know why I was going to forget was the mission where the Flood help you. I screamed such joy seeing that, because I saw that and was like, holy crap, like, the Flood are actually on our side. Like, that's really cool. It didn't last long, but it was still cool to see. But then obviously, yeah, over time, Halo 3, the Flood were essentially just wiped out, at least from, in their system and stuff, and the Flood just kind of, that was it. And then later down the line, ODST didn't really have Flood in it. Reach was a prequel, so obviously the Flood weren't going to be in it, because the Flood were introduced in Halo 1. And then obviously 4, Halo 5, and then Infinite came out. Infinite, I will admit, I was okay with the whole Easter egg showing that they have the Flood sample. But in my opinion, they really just kind of ruined the Flood at that point anyway, and they only made it worse by doing the whole whatever the race the final boss was apparently being worse than the Flood and stuff. It's like, at that point I kind of hit that, like, okay, yeah, the Flood are nothing now. They're not really going to make the Flood special. It's clear they wanted to get rid of the Flood somehow. Like, obviously the Flood did die off in Halo 3, but there was always that possibility that maybe they could come back somehow. And then in Halo Wars 2, I believe, they had it was a like a DLC maybe. I don't play Halo Wars. I'm not a fan of, like, the top-down games, but I'm pretty sure in one of them they had, like, an entire section or DLC dedicated to the Flood, and that was, like, something I was happy with. But mainline game-wise, the Flood just became nothing. And again, as someone who was a big horror slash zombie fan, it kind of sucked. But in the end, it is what it is. Like, it'll happen, fine. They obviously got bored of the Flood. That's why obviously the Covenant even changed. But again, as someone who's just a horror fan and a zombie fan anyway, it felt like you just lost a part of the game, and it just, any of the future games just kind of felt like it was missing something. I'm not saying the games are bad. I thought Infinite was pretty decent, and I was, even though it was just cosmetics, I was kind of okay with them adding, like, the Flood cosmetics in Infinite for multiplayer and stuff. I thought that was okay, and apparently they did something recent. I haven't played Infinite in a long time, so, like, I haven't been keeping up with it that much, but I did remember seeing they did some more cosmetics for the Flood and stuff, and they do have lore to show the Flood is still a threat, but again, that's just lore stuff. That's not going to be shown in game. But so that's kind of just, yeah, obviously how I was introduced to it and how I viewed the series as it goes by. And it kind of leads into me talking about this recent Halo Campaign Evolved reveal. And I thought, because it's Halloween, they might have showed a trailer or something, or a teaser of the Flood. Because again, like, Halloween is Halloween. Like, that's something to show. Like, I feel like that could have been a thing. It wasn't, obviously. And what they did show off was, I did like they showed off the silent cartographer. I thought that was awesome. Like, it's the mission that got me into the series. And they did do a trailer for it or something, and they've revealed little pieces here and there. But I honestly thought to myself, like, they could have shown some Flood stuff for Halloween. They didn't, and I'm hoping they do show some Flood stuff so we can see exactly what is going on or what it looks like. But until they do, or if they do, it really just, I've got no idea. However, not only is Halo coming to PlayStation, which I am primarily a PlayStation player, so that's, to me, is good news. Even if the game's not good, even if the game is not gonna be the same as playing the original, the fact it's on PlayStation now, to me, it's good. Like, unless they bring the other games to PlayStation, then I just don't see a problem with it, honestly. But again, that kind of got me thinking, like, the Flood was such a good plot point for Halo 1. So I had thought to myself, like, not only are we obviously going to see the Flood, but with the talk of the extra missions and enemies, it's got me thinking maybe they might add some extra for the Flood, or maybe like another mission that's a Flood mission, or enemies, like they might add new variants for the Flood and stuff. I think I remember them saying the tanker variant is going to be in it, which I don't know, I'm just going off by what certain YouTubers that have said about it. But either way, I was like, if that's the case, that's good. I would be okay with them doing that, like, that's actually not too bad. But again, it just kind of leads me into kind of the reason I wanted to talk about what I'm, bringing up today. Again, this is just one episode. Every episode of this series I'm doing is not going to be the same subject. It's going to be different topics of my opinion and stuff. But again, like, I don't know what time. I'm hoping it is early next year. The remake, remaster, campaign evolve, whatever, comes out. And obviously, hopefully, they still release new information for it and stuff. Like, obviously, what they revealed now is, like, they obviously haven't finished the game yet. They're just revealing what they got. But that just kind of led me into, again, like, someone who was too young to understand the Flood to someone who grew into the Flood. And the Flood is... Call of Duty Zombies got me into zombies, yes, and to some aspect horror. But the Flood just kind of is also, like, was right there as well, and it's also why I got into, like, the, zombies and horror and stuff. And, like, when they did the Halo anniversary thing, I thought it looked alright. Obviously, as you can see, the gameplay in the background is me playing Halo Anniversary. Although, obviously, not a lot of people were happy because it was basically Halo Reach, like graphics and stuff, which not a lot of people were a fan of. The Flood, in my opinion, didn't look too bad, though. They did look modern. But, yeah, like, I am kind of hoping it's gonna be just as good. Like, I hope they're not called 343 anymore. They're called Halo Studios. I hope they don't try and backside the... Like, it's clear they're gonna make the game exactly the same as CE, but I hope with this extra content they don't keep shoving the Flood to the back as if they don't mean anything, because the Flood are arguably, and again, my opinions on this, but the Flood are arguably what made Halo, front and center for the games at the time, because all the stuff that they revealed for Halo, they never once showed any form of horror, any form of the Flood, any form of the missions or how things change. Everyone saw it as this sci-fi shooter where it's you against aliens and you're just like a one-man army. So the fact that the game had the Flood without any form of teasers or any form of reveals or that, in my opinion, was just made the game even better. Again, if I was, like, old enough to see that stuff like that before the game's release and during it, I would have realized, like, it would have been, like, more of a shock to me, because obviously I got into Halo through that little, back in school when I was too young, and then I was introduced to the Flood, waking up basically in the middle of the night seeing it. But, like, I could just imagine the surprise on my face if I had known about the game beforehand and played it and then got surprised eventually, realizing that I had not been teased or shown in any way the Flood was a thing until that point. But, again, like, that's just, like, the Flood to me. Like, the Flood are just such a big part of childhood to me, and, like, a big part of, like, my horror, like, life and stuff. But, I mean, again, like, if they do more for the Flood in this campaign Evolved, that would be amazing. Like, obviously, I'm not saying there has to be a million different, like, special forms or different forms like Left 4 Dead, but it would be nice to see maybe something, added to the Flood to make them seem more like of a threat. And then we may not get Flood weapons, because that really doesn't make sense apart from, like, a cosmetic thing, but it would have been cool if we got something off the Flood that, like, we could use as a weapon. I don't know, that's just me spitballing, really. But, I mean, yeah, like, again, like, I'm still very surprised they didn't reveal anything Flood-wise, because it's not like we don't know the Flood's coming in. We know the Flood is coming in this game. Whether or not what they do with it, we'll never know. But obviously we're going to find out. It would be nice if they did reveal something for the Flood in later, like they maybe gave... Kind of like what they did with the cartographer. They did a video which was like 13 minutes of it, and then another video was just a trailer for the mission. It would be cool if they gave just a trailer for 343 or something like that. But, and again, just like, the game is probably not going to come out for a good while next year. Like, a lot of people are expecting within the first few months. probably won't be that early, which is unfortunate, but hopefully they have revealed a decent amount before they do release it, so we're amped for it. Because, like, I would be glad to be amped for the Flood. There's already things about the game people dislike, like, you know, people aren't happy with the graphics, or, like, the assault rifle has been turned into the 32 magazine, like, you know, not a 60 round, you know, death machine like it is in Halo CE. But, hopefully and surely they kind of make it good. Like, you know, any of the things they did change hopefully really won't matter. And, like, it's going to be, like, great regardless. Obviously, it's probably going to deal with the same issues a lot of modern games have, like, probably performance issues on PC, most likely, I could see being a big topic, or, you know, people going on about the frames or the graphics and stuff like that. But, again, like, really, they've only showed what they have, and I'm hoping that over time they show more and it just becomes more positive and stuff anyway. But I don't know. Either way, I'm excited regardless, because, you know, multiple different reasons, but obviously just in general, just a lot of things about the game. But it is still kind of something I'm a little skeptical about, just in case. You know, you never know what they're actually going to do. But, we'll have to wait and see anyway. But, like, you know, the Flood in general, I'm not expecting the Flood to be front and center. It's just, I really do hope they keep the Flood as they were in C, which is essentially a threat that was introduced and just became the, you know, the thing to be afraid of. Not that the Covenant aren't something to be fearful of. And, again, like, the way they introduced the lore, and they kind of just kept building on the lore as it went on, like, was always my favorite thing. I think something they did in Infinite was straight up, like, actually made lore for a Spartan being infected, and that was something that definitely, like, I feel like, you know, that would be pretty cool to see in a Halo game, you know, like, seems like something, like, Halo's done bosses before, and I'm not saying it should be a boss, but, like, it would be cool if they introduced it as sort of something like that. Because a Spartan wouldn't be easy to, you know, defeat in general, but a Flood-infected one could be hit, you know, could be weakened by the Flood infection, could be strengthened by the Flood infection, you never really know. One thing that I kind of just got reminded of that I should point out too is one of the other reasons I loved the Flood back in the day was, you're seeing it a little bit right now too, but it's when you could do that thing where you shoot the arms off a Flood form and they just slowly walk up to you, unable to do anything. And as a kid, that was the funniest thing to me. Just seeing, like, a Flood form try and keep up with me, but not able to do anything. I used to call them squishies. Just, that's the name I came up with them. So if I seen one, I'd be like, oh, well, I made a squishy. And I would literally protect it with, as if it was, like, something I needed to keep alive throughout the game. That is, again, something that I hope they continue the thing of in this game, because as the games went on, I'm pretty sure they got rid of that. I think in 3 you can't really do it. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see anyway. Like, it is funny that you can do things like that in games, and it's, like, just become... I don't know if there's an official term for it, I'm sure there is, but I call them squishies, and I just find them hilarious. But, yeah, like, at that point, I hope they add that still, but I hope maybe there's other stuff you can do with that. But, I mean, again, like, have to just wait and see. It's kind of like how I felt with Dead Space when they announced it. Like, it felt like so far away until the game eventually came out, and then I just got real into it. Like, oh my god, like, it was all I talked about. And again, Halo was something that you can talk about the new game coming out, but really, it's like, it's not really, apart from anything new they add, it's the same game. It's not like they're, you know, like, it's going to be too different that it's going to feel like you are talking about a separate game. it's still going to be the same game to talk about. But, like, yeah, it's just, I really hope that it is, like, a good thing that happens, because, like, with all the game, like, console wars kind of have been ending recently. A lot of people have noticed too. Like, a lot of console exclusive games are now just on other consoles, and honestly, Halo was a big surprise to me, but at the same time, with the way things are going, it was inevitable. But, again, like, Halo is something that, it kind of is a game that revolutionized gaming in some form. Like, it kind of just, if there was a time capsule for, like, games that are important in history, I genuinely believe that Halo CE should be one of those games, because it really did up the ante for FPSs, sci-fis, even horror in general. Like, just so many things it did. And again, the Flood, I feel like the game would have been great regardless, but the Flood are what made Halo so much more special, and what I believe is just going to continue that trend. Especially with this new game coming out. Like, there probably are people out there who have never seen anything about Halo, and I would be honestly a little surprised, but at the same time, it would be kind of happy to see someone not touch Halo in their life, play this new one, and then get introduced to the Flood, and be, like, very surprised or something like that. But, you know, at that point, again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, because, you know, game's not out yet. But, yeah, I'm kind of trying to think of more. Like, I'm not really sure what else I can bring up about the Flood that really can make my conversation more. I was planning to make this video an hour long. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna reach that. So if you've watched to this point, I apologize, but I don't know if I'm gonna make it an hour's long worth. But I mean, I just wanted to give myself something, and doing something like this once a week, I feel like, is something to do. And even if it's not an hour long, talking about something often, I think would just be a good thing to do, because there's just so many weekends I have days off where, you know, Sunday, Mondays I have off where I want to do stuff and I just never do it. And my channel is not something I'm expecting, you know, to reach up to a high amount. But I get to a point where I do want to upload stuff for YouTube, and I just don't have the drive, or I don't have, like, the ideas for. But again, like, I really don't know what else to say about the Flood. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and go into, like, a big deep lore thing of the Flood. And again, I'm really just talking from personal experience, personal preference, personal opinions, and that. Most people out there, I'm sure, despise or hate the Flood. I'm sure there's a good majority of people out there who probably stopped playing when the Flood were introduced because they thought it was stupid or silly. And there's people who might argue with me that the Flood should not be brought back, or the Flood shouldn't just show up again, and, like, you know, what happened with them is what happened. And that's fine. I just personally like the Flood. And with all this talk of, you know, this Halo remake, remaster, whatever coming out, knowing the Flood are gonna come back again, it's like the first time I fought the Flood since, I think the last new thing they did with the Flood as something to fight was when they added it to ODST Firefight, which was a big shock to me and a big surprise, but also it's like that's really the last thing they did with the Flood as an enemy, which kind of sucks. But yeah, like, again, I'm not really sure what to say more. I'm kind of just like, you know, not really sure how this series is going to go, and I apologize if this is a series or another idea that I just don't bother doing that much and eventually just stop doing in general. It is something that I wanted to do, and I, you know, may not have reached the hour-long thought behind it, because, again, I'm doing this kind of on a whim. I'm not scripting this, I'm not all I really thought of was I wanted to record a video. The topic was the flood from Halo, and I wanted to talk as much as I can on it. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm kind of just drawing a blank right now because I feel like at this point I've said everything I can think of. But again, like the gameplay you're watching in the background is legit just the gameplay of me playing the Maw from Halo CE when I did Anniversary. So if you want to see the video, I will put a thing on the video. Like I'm gonna actually, it's something I realize I can do now. Put a little thing up there, so if you want to watch the video, you can. Honestly, I enjoyed Halo. Like my playthrough of Halo was something I enjoyed mainly because of the flood. And when I played for 343 Guilty Spark, I expressed that as well. So, you know, if you're interested, there's that there. Obviously. But again, if you have different opinions or whatever, let me know what you think. Do you like the flood? Do you hate the flood? Are you excited about the flood coming back? Are you excited about this new Halo game? Whatever you feel like, just let me know. Let me know if you think a series like this would be worth it. Because, like, if I do have people out there who wouldn't mind, you know, watching something like this, that would be cool to me. And if there's other topics that I might be interested in. Also, I bought this shirt quite a while ago. Like, not a while ago, I'd say a couple days ago. And this is, like, the first time I'm wearing it. But I thought it was a little ironic that it's a Halo shirt, and you've got the Chief there, and I'm talking about Halo in this video. It's actually quite funny. I might try and keep that in as a topic in the future, because when I did my Doom, the Dark Ages playthrough, I wore kind of like a matching hoodie and pants that were a Doom Slayer's armor. And I ended up just not doing that anymore, so I actually kind of like the gimmick of wearing something that talks about the subject. And I'm going to put a green screen on for this, just to see how it works, so you might see inside the game itself might have green screen changes as well. I don't know, I'll see how it goes. I kind of like just using a green screen anyway. But yeah, thank you for watching, I suppose. I'm just going to end it here, because I'm really just not sure where else to go with this. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.